Is not an alien force already among us?
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
From some other species, from another planet, outside in the universe.
Welcome to S4.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to S4, the official radio broadcast of Forest Moon Paranormal, with host Eric Cooper and our panel of enlightened minds. Coming to you live from FMP headquarters located in the heart of Skagit Valley, Washington, at the base of the majestic North Cascade Mountains. We will take you through a journey of exploration as we examine every aspect of the metaphysical. From spirits, UFOs, Bigfoot, and conspiracies, to grounding, protection, astral travel, and everything in between, leaving you with a better understanding and comprehension of the world around you, and the entities that inhabit it.
Join us every Saturday night at Spreaker.com and locally on KSVU 90.1. Don't forget to check out our new webpage at www.s-4radio.com.
Now sit back, open your mind, get ready, because this is S4.
Good evening or morning, depending where you are, and welcome to S4, the voice of Forest Moon Paranormal, coming to you live from FMP headquarters in the heart of the Cascade Mountains in Concrete, Washington. FMP is a highly active emergency response team for all aspects of the paranormal, from aggressive hauntings to alien interaction, Bigfoot and other cryptids, and everything in between that's terrifying. S4 is the voice where we discuss these things in detail. Not only can you find S4 right here on Spreaker, but for our local listeners, also on KSVU 90.1 FM from 10 to 12 Saturdays with pre-recorded shows. So, tonight, can you believe it, folks? It's already the 8th of June, and we'll be discussing all things alien abduction. So we try to get an abduction show every 2 or 3 months, because I know we'll get new listeners in between there. And abduction is a pretty hot topic right about now, with the Navy talking about sightings. The sightings are on the rise. Are abductions on the rise? Well, some people don't know it until they hear the signs and symptoms of what abduction entails. So why are they abducting? Who is abducting? And what are the signs, and how can these people be helped? So tonight with us we have Cole Wegleitner, our FMB technical analyst and owner of Statement of Sound DJ Services. Chris and Brent Dodge. Chris is on the extended care team, and Brent is on the astral team. We have Dred Osborne on extended care team, and Jamie Justice, our curiosity seeker. Actually, she is our neighbor here at FMP headquarters, and she just loves the paranormal. So, how's everyone doing tonight?
Perfect.
Good. Wonderful.
Outstanding. So we are hoping to, and I got to give a shout out real quick to Will. He's on our team. He's actually in Army Medical School right now. He's at Fort Sam Houston. I believe he's about halfway through, if not a little bit more. And I know he's enjoying it because I do get to talk to him on occasion. So, good luck, Will. I know you're going to do great things. Cool.
We miss you, bud.
Yeah, we do.
Yes,
I know he's listening. I know he's listening. He's in the barracks, but I know he's listening. All right. So to start with, alien abduction's been documented since the 12th century. Now, I know it goes way beyond that, but that's as far as documentation as you can find in it. It happened a lot in, I think it was Italy or France, and there were like multiple cases of children that were being taken, and they weren't returned. And that actually started an organization called the Order of the Black Swan, which you won't find anything about. Trust me, we've been searching for 2 years for documentation on this. Can't find it. Anything related to the Order of the Black Swan comes back to royalty, which may or may not be the same thing. I don't know. That's a hard one to find research on. So if anyone knows anything about the Order of the Black Swan, which is 3 families in the 12th century in Italy, I want to say it was Italy. I'm trying to remember here. So there were 3 families who had children abducted. After a while, 2 of the families gave up hope. They stopped looking. There was one family that didn't. Now, think 12th century, this mother was hell-bent on finding her daughter. She actually found herself going to the Middle East. She took a ship. Obviously, back then, they didn't have airplanes, they didn't have cars. She took a boat, a vessel, and found herself in the Middle East. In the Middle East, they actually talked about the people from the stars that came down and took people. And they not sure everything they described, but they described enough that she went back home really ticked off, got the other families together, and they formed the Order of the Black Swan. And their mission was to kill aliens. And they're supposed to still be around today. So. Yeah. Interesting historical stuff. always interesting to you can talk 1800s, you can talk 1700s. You've got, the airship cases in Texas that happened, UFO sightings back then. But when you start talking 11th and 12th centuries, that's some bizarre stuff. And good evening, Joe and Trip. Always love seeing our regulars in the chat room. So, next let's talk about contactees versus abductees. So who knows what a contactee is? Oh, come on now. Y'all are too quiet.
Isn't it someone who was abducted but doesn't mind?
Okay, you're close. Okay. So a contactee, the contactees are the ones that they believe all aliens are great, all aliens are good, their experience has been great. They weren't necessarily abducted, but they were contacted. They weren't necessarily taken. I do have a theory with some of them, not all of them, but if you look at the contactee era, back in the 30s and 40s, you heard about the Venusians, you heard about the Space Brothers, you heard, you got Daniel Fry, you've got, I knew I should have printed those notes out. But we're not talking about contactees tonight, we're talking about abductees. But there was an era from 30s to about the 70s where the contactees were the big thing. And the abductees started in about the 60s. I mean, they go beyond the 60s, but for documentation, you'll find more about abductions from the 60s to current. So when I was looking for example, when I was looking for a group therapy, a peer-led type group for abductees here locally, I found one in Seattle, but come to find out, it was for contactees, not for abductees. And that's why you need to establish the difference. Because if you send in an abductee to a contactee group session, they're not going to be welcome. Because
That's
most
going to be
contactees...
traumatizing.
Yeah, because contactees are going to basically shun and tell an abductee that they're crazy. Because, again, contactees' experiences are wonderful. How dare you... You know, and I've even been told, how dare you say that aliens are evil? Well, some of them are. And I guess evil is kind of subjective because, you know, if you look at what humans do to animals, they track them, they experiment on them. It's really the same thing that some aliens do to humans, the scientific ones. And we'll go into all that later in the show. That's the whys. But from the FMP perspective, we're on the human side. So, yeah, we're here to stop the abduction or at least help the abductee. You're going to find that most abductees, when they contact us, the first thing out of their mouth is, you're going to think I'm crazy. No, not really. FMPs have been doing this for a long time, and believe me, you're not crazy. We deal with it. You know, and I think the first step to helping these people and starting the healing process and helping them deal with it is letting them know that, one, we believe them, and two, they're not alone. They're by no means alone. There's people get abducted every day.
You would think, though, with the rise of the X-Files and everything, that's the wrong message to say.
What's that?
Well, if they're an abductee, they're kind of traumatized by the whole thing, right?
Right.
And the big thing about the X-Files was we are not alone.
Well, but if you look at most people that watch the X-Files, they see it. You know, we see things differently than the normal non-paranormal person, in that they think it's just a TV show. It's just entertainment. And for the most part, it's not a documentary, so it should be treated as entertainment. But what it does is opens the mind to the possibility. Now, bear in mind, a lot of the the signs and symptoms you see on the X-Files are pretty accurate. But for the one that's never been abducted, it's not going to understand that. Now, the abductee that doesn't know they're being abducted, and that happens all the time, they might start having flashbacks because, oh my God, that happened to me. And that happens. And I really hate being the bearer of bad news, but when I start talking to a client and asking them what's going on, and they start giving me the signs of abduction, I don't like being the one to tell them, well, you're showing signs of a possible alien abduction. And I've had to tell, probably only a couple, not a lot. But I tell them that you fit the patterns.
So what is the pattern?
We're going to go over that.
Okay.
We'll be going over all the signs, and I'm actually taking... So I'm going to be talking about two different sets of patterns, because there's the one that you find on Google, and then there's the ones that I'm going to be taking straight off the FMP pre-investigative alien UFO questionnaire, because I have my own set of patterns that I look for. And we're going to talk about the difference between what might be an abduction sign and what might be a medical issue instead of an abduction. Because the first thing we tell anybody when they start talking about some of these signs is, have you seen a doctor? Or in some cases, have you seen a psychiatrist? Not to make that sound funny, but some cases of childhood trauma, some cases of adult trauma can also fit some of these patterns. Just coming back in, a mental way. So,
By asking that being one of the first questions, by asking the person that, wouldn't that kind of make them think that, oh, they already don't trust me, they don't believe what I'm saying?
it can, but it depends on how you ask it.
Okay.
And, so how we triage, and then how the extended care team, and that's why you guys on the extended care team are handpicked in that you have to have empathy. Not everybody can fit in the extended care team, because you guys have to have empathy. You have to understand, where the client's coming from, and if you have the wrong person on extended care, you're gonna definitely push them away.
Yeah.
So,
And those are the hardest cases. Alien cases are the hardest to do because the people are terrified, and there's only so much that we can show them to do because unlike attachments or things like that we can get rid of and show them preventative, aliens do what they want and they can come back. So they're hard cases to do.
yeah, they
I have
are.
a quick question.
Yeah.
Well, nobody, there's, I should say not nobody knows, but with people doubting and just not knowing all the answers on your team, how do you convince a person that might be thinking that they've been abducted or anything, if they have any questions or anything about like why or what happened to me or whatever, you wouldn't be able to answer that. You obviously weren't there. What can you offer them in a, I guess a form of your experience or something? Like you said that you have a certain pattern that you go by, Eric, but what about when they say, well, where did the aliens come from, or how did they get me, or whatever? How do you answer questions like those if you haven't been abducted yourself?
Okay, so on the team we have our Keith Andrews, who actually communicates with about 50 different races. So when you put him on a case along with our team, and since you brought it up, we'll go ahead and talk about Astral. So with our Keith, the description they give, obviously he's not there, but he can actually give the client a pretty accurate description of what's happened to him based on which race it is. So when you have a client that's describing this particular race and Keith is describing other details about what they've seen without even being there, that's a pretty convincing aspect.
Yeah.
Then when you bring in the astral, so astral travel is what our team uses. Astral is basically mentally leaving your body and traveling to a location, depending on your experience and your skill level. You can look at a picture, or you can look at Google Maps at their address and actually be there astrally. Astral's kind of like, and recently I've come upon Stranger Things. The Upside Down is probably a pretty accurate depiction of what astral is. So, for other listeners that have heard about remote viewing is something the government used and probably still uses today, I'm pretty sure. But back in the 60s and 70s, it was used in spying on the Russians and China. And it's different. So with remote viewing, you're actually mentally or consciously leaving your mind and following a set of grid coordinates that a controller gives you. And with remote viewing, all you can do is view. You cannot interact. Now, other remote viewers can see you, and it's happened before. but you can't interact, you can't pass over spirits, you can't do anything but spy. And that's what they're used for. So with astral travel, our team can interact. They've been followed around by clients' dogs and cats before, because animals can see them. They can pass over spirits, they can communicate with spirits, they can communicate with malevolent entities, and they can interact with aliens. And that's where the abduction side came in when we used the astral team on abduction cases. We don't anymore. And it only took one case to ruin that one, and that was in my lab. So when it comes to the team safety, we have to put that at the forefront, and that kind of jeopardized the team, and we stopped doing abductions. We've gone back to the old school way of handling abductions, which, doing the old school way, we can't stop them. We can only stop them with astral. Now, until we come up with a better protocol where it keeps the team safe, we won't do astral with abductions anymore. Does that answer your question?
What would a
Say again?
What would a protocol be, for instance? Just like trying to figure out something that is happening out there ahead of time. When you're talking about stopping the abduction, you would have to have a protocol. Just an example.
So with when the astral team goes in, they can see the implants, and we'll get into implants here in a little bit. But all abductees have an implant, or more than one, depending on which race it is, and depending on what their goal is. But the tracking implant is what we disable. The only implant we can't disable is the holograph implant. That's the one in the center of the brain. We're not going to mess with that one. But to disable the implant, they basically hit the implant with a burst of energy. It knocks think of electronics, it knocks the electronics offline, shuts them down. And that brings down the aliens, because the aliens are going, what the hell? Our tracker's gone. And they'll come down. Now, if it's the Greys are easy to combat. They usually cut their losses and they leave. They don't come back. Thing with disabling the implant, however, is they can be reactivated. That's only if the alien, that particular race, wants to continue the abduction. Depends on what the purpose of the abductee is. So, once we've combated the alien, or more than one, and they cut their losses, they don't come back, then we raise the energy vibrations of the client. Once you raise the vibrations, they don't come back. Now, when I talk about vibrations can be lowered by depression. They can be lowered by, if you have a drug user, if you have just a negative element or negative attitude in a person, that can lower your vibration. Positivity raises vibrations. Or we can actually raise vibrations through the astral team through energy. Higher vibrations keep the aliens away. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And Eric, it's also a lot of the alien abductions come down through the family, correct?
Yeah, I was going to get there.
Oh,
you're jumping. It's okay though. It's okay. Well, I do want to reiterate though. People that hear about abduction, they think, "Oh my God," and they start looking behind their shoulder. If you haven't been abducted, it's a really low chance that you're going to be, because, like Chris just said, most of your abductees, once you start talking to them, you'll find that either their parents or their grandparents, throughout time, had described a UFO sighting or an abduction, because it is generational. Oftentimes it skips a generation. So even though your parents might have had an experience, I bet your grandparents have. And it's generational because what they're doing and it's usually the same race. When it comes to the generational abductions, it's the same race that's doing it. It's usually the Greys. There's other races that do as well. And they're watching for genetic manipulation. They're watching genetic markers. Those are your science races. Much like humans do with animals. And then, of course, we have the Gray Hybrid program. So back in the 90s, 94 is when I got thrown into the abduction scenario. And my first book I picked up, because I wanted to know what the hell was going on, was by Dr. David Jacobs, and it's called Secret Life of Alien Abduction. The best book you could ever get on this topic when it comes to the Gray Hybrids. And what you had, so the first sign with the hybrid program was a triangular, how do I describe it? So it's basically 3 puncture marks in the lower abdomen in a triangular pattern, along with dreams of being on a craft. So dreams are important, which is why I tell all clients, start a dream journal. You want your name, your date, the time, and the weather, because the weather can manipulate your dreams. And then, of course, you want diagrams, any kind of, all the details you can think of, and you do this as soon as you wake up, because that's when all the details are the freshest. And this is, some paranormal investigators, they like hypnotherapy, they like regression. I don't. Conscious recall is the most accurate, and it's the safest method. And you get arguments, no, regression is great, regression is safe. To me, it's not. Because some people don't need to open that door. And what regressive hypnosis does is opens doors in the mind that were blocked for a reason. You open those doors when they're not supposed to be open just yet, you can lead to suicide. And that's what you don't want, obviously. So yeah, conscious recall through dream journaling, I think, is the safest method. The other negative aspect with regressive hypnosis, to me, is the fact that if it's not done right, you can make, they did a study. They had, I think it was 25 non-abductees in one room, 25 abductees in the other room. When they were done, all 50 of them came out saying they were abductees because of the way that the regressive hypnosis was done. If you ask leading questions, you're going to plant thoughts in the mind, and you're going to make them an abductee, basically. So, I'm not an advocate for regressive hypnosis. Some people say, "Oh, but there's new methods and it's safe." I'm not taking the chance with our clients. So, let's see.
Eric, with abductions and with implants, aren't there kind of just specific areas that the implants are implanted, and sometimes the client can feel them, correct?
Yes. So, again, different races have different intentions, and they have their own technology, so they have different implants to use. So, again, back in the 90s with the hybrid program, the most common implants they used, which has to do with 2 of the signs of abduction, and those were the nasal implants. Now, they won't be felt so much, but they will cause nosebleeds. So with these abductees, they'll wake up with blood on their pillow. They don't know why, but it's because of the implant that's in the nasal cavity. And sometimes that implant will come out. It'll come out and it'll look kind of like a BB that was smaller than a BB, but like a little tiny ball bearing, essentially, that was in their nasal implant. Now, just someone talking about nosebleeds, again, going back to the medical side, you want to know, so if that's your only sign, do you have high blood pressure? Do you have anemia? Was the air dry where you were sleeping? There's environmental and medical things you got to look at with the signs and symptoms. The other implants can be behind the ear, at the base of the neck. They're really common in the toes and the fingers and between the fingers because they're trying to hide them. And the legs and arms. Those are your most common spots. And of course, like I said, there's the hologram implant, which is in the middle of the brain. And these won't be, sometimes they will, but usually they won't be picked up by x-ray. So when you're looking for physical signs, you won't always see them. Now, when it comes to some of the abductees will actually feel like a bump in their skin. They'll feel like a raise in their skin, and if they haven't been to combat, that kind of rules out shrapnel because they'll feel like shrapnel, but it's not.
And there used to be a doctor that would remove those.
Yes, Dr. Lear. Dr. Lear, that's all he did was did surgical removals of implants, and so I mean, there is physical evidence out there, but Dr. Lear died, I believe, 2 years ago now. He did great work. I think somebody stepped up and is doing the same thing, but I'd have to look it up. But I do believe there's other surgeons out there that are doing the same thing now. So some of the other, those implants quite often are like a tracking device. These abductees, they can have it removed, they can have it shut down, and they can, if they can pack their stuff up and move. If they have their implant, they're going to be tracked. They can move from Idaho to Germany, and they'll still be found if they have an implant, because that's what the tracking implant is for. You've got some implants, so we do have hybrids that are here. They've changed the hybrid program now to where abductees are basically impregnated, and it used to be the abductee would be retaken after 3 to 4 months, and the fetus would be taken out on the ship. And then, the abductees describing being on a ship, seeing like a nursery where there's a lot of fetuses that are on in jars, and they're alive. And then they're re-abducted like a year later because they're wanted to interact with this toddler at this point. Now the abductee is returned, and they're given allowed to have a natural childbirth. So what we have now is human-alien hybrids that are here. A lot of them are teenagers. A lot of you've got a few of the older hybrids from when they started that procedure that will be younger adults, maybe in their 20s, because that's about the time frame they started doing it, that method. So those hybrids, I believe, have implants that alter the genetic makeup. Because if you have a hybrid, for example, a young woman, young man that goes to the doctor and has blood work done, you don't want anomalies in the blood that's going to show them as being, part alien. So I think there's some implants out there that keep the blood in the genetic makeup human, if that makes sense. Because if you have a hybrid down here and they go to the doctor and, they have anomalies in their blood, that's going to raise red flags.
Yeah. You mentioned hybrid. When you're talking about the alien, human hybrids and stuff, you're also speaking of different races who identifies the races of the aliens? And you said that there was a gentleman that had like experience with 50 of them or something. But who like determines what races or which, and kind of legitimize it, I guess.
Good question.
Like it would be like your handbook.
So you got the alien races. You got the ARB, which is in the FMP library. You've got R. Keith Andrews with all the races he's dealt with. And then you've got the most common races that our team's actually dealt with in the astral. And they have seen physically in the astral. For lack of a better explanation. So the Greys are common, the Mantids are common, the Reptilians are common.
Paladins.
Huh?
Palladians.
Palladians are common. Arcturians are common. I know I'm missing a bunch. And again, they all have their own agenda. And we'll go into the agendas here shortly. And I'm really wishing Keith was here. I'm watching for him. He's just online. Okay. Maybe third hour, hopefully. He didn't wake up.
There's so many aliens, so, I mean, you've got the hybrid, you've got the ones that are coming down doing abductions, and, Eric, you can't forget the ones that are here on Earth and taking over people's body. And I know that sounds bad, but it's so true because I met one and it freaked me out, but I stayed calm and I got through it, and she was very harmless. Very harmless. She was here to do a job, and she meant no harm whatsoever to me or any other human. And yes, it freaked me out, but I'm alive and I can talk about it.
Well, those are rare. I back in what year was it? It would have been because I ran into reptilians in Atlanta, Georgia in 99, 2000. And at the same time, we also met a guy that did claim to be an alien. Now, people kind of raise their eyebrows and go, yeah, he was crazy. I don't know. I really don't. The guy lived in a hotel because he felt like he was tracked. Does that show paranoia? Yes, it does. If I was an alien, I'd be paranoid too, though. The dude was a genius. You kind of have to use your intuition. You kind of have to use your gut of whether they're true or not. So, yeah, and that was back in 99, 2000 that I met that guy. So I know they're here. I know there's some aliens that are in human bodies. And like the one you met her, 2 years ago? Or was it last year?
It was about 3 years ago now. Yeah, she walked into my work. But like I said, very harmless, and you can, how do I say this? You can tell the intelligence that she had because she was very, very careful on how she talked to me, and it's like I felt something and I knew that she was different. And so it's like she put off that feeling and she waited until I asked. She didn't come out and say a bunch of stuff. And then I even asked a couple questions and she says, you're not ready to hear that answer. So very harmless, very interesting, but you could feel the intelligence.
So there's so much we could go into, because there's thousands of races. Not all of them want to interact with humans. Some of them want nothing to do with humans. I don't blame them. Some of them observe. Some of them live in the mountains. You'll find a lot of attraction with volcanoes because some of the craft are actually fueled by the geothermal energy of volcanoes. That's part of the drive that's, you hear about, there's always UFOs around volcanoes. Yeah, there is. And some of the volcanoes are actually controlled by some of the races. But
what about?
go ahead.
Sorry. Thank you. What about when volcanoes erupt? Is that a sign like of them, or what would that be?
My only guess with that would be sometimes volcanoes have to erupt to release energy out of the earth. If they don't, then you might have eruptions come out of somewhere else in the earth.
Yeah, true.
I think there's got, I think there's got to be a certain regulation of the planet to keep the planet intact. That's just a guess.
Right.
It's not fact. Just a
Makes
theory.
sense.
And you saying that's exactly why she was here. She was studying the Earth movement and how active Mount Baker was, as a matter of fact.
Okay. And, growing up as a child here, I remember being 7 years old and always hearing about a mothership that was over Mount Baker. And I would just kind of shrug my shoulders and, I wasn't into aliens or UFOs growing up. I didn't get into aliens and UFOs, like I said, until 94. And so, yeah, growing up, I think I remember watching maybe 2 interesting UFO documentaries because that was probably all that was on TV. But I didn't go looking for them. I wasn't interested. I was interested in Matchbox cars and girls. That was it. And playing in the mountains, playing in the woods. That's what I did. I had cows. I showed cows. I was a farm boy. I didn't give a damn about any UFO or, paranormal in general. I had my experiences, but again, I shrugged them off. I remember seeing a shadow as a kid. My cousin and I would talk about the ghost in his house. Like, kind of cool. It didn't do anything. It wasn't spooky. But that was my childhood. I didn't get into UFOs or abduction until 1994. So I've been thrust into it since then.
And what made you a believer then in 1994, if I might ask?
I had a friend who had the very first symptoms of it, or the first signs of it. And it just so happens the day those signs came up, we watched a talk show, and they had a whole panel of abductees were on it, and they described the exact same signs that this woman had.
Oh, wow.
Right to a T. To the missing fetus. So, that was the Gray Hybrid program. And, yep, I was pissed off and involved from that day.
Well, hasn't there also been a lot of sightings of UFOs coming out of the water? The oceans and deep lakes and stuff like that?
So those are USOs, unidentified submergible objects. And yes, there's lights under the water. Now they become a UFO once they leave the water. Then it becomes a UFO. But, and that's been, there's been UFO, even Columbus had a UFO sighting. And it's documented in his diary. But, yeah. So, I love the movie The Abyss. And I think we talked about that like 3 weeks ago.
Yes. I love that movie, too.
When you're talking USO, there's a prime example in a movie. We had a client that was talking about a light that went up a river. So USOs aren't just subjective to the ocean, but there's been sightings in lakes, there's been sightings in rivers, and those. So there's some underwater races. Some can travel astrally, some are interdimensional, and then of course you got off planet. They're from other planets.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what they say about the Bermuda Triangle also, is alien base down there.
And Keith, going with Keith would, I think Keith said there wasn't one. Personally, I think there is. Or it's just a portal. It could be a portal that causes an electromagnetic disturbance which causes the airplane disappearances, the ship disappearances, things of that nature.
But there hasn't been anything. There hasn't been anything, any news. There hasn't been any news or anything put out like there used to be on the Bermuda Triangle. Does that mean that maybe they've moved out of the area and went somewhere else, or
who controls the media?
Yeah, got it. Yeah, the government.
Now, what's interesting? Go ahead.
I traveled across the Bermuda Triangle back in 2002, and the cruise ship that we were on lost total power for just a few seconds. That was it. But they say that the ships nowadays shouldn't happen to, but it did, and there's no explanation.
And that's a good point, because it could be the technology that we have today makes it less susceptible for disappearances.
Okay.
I mean, just a thought. Because if her cruise ship only lost power for a few seconds, think of the technology back in the 40s and 50s when you saw the most disappearances. The technology was less technological, and it might have disappeared.
Right.
So I think the increased technology, and some alien races might even be giving us technology to help supersede that. Not saying humans are too stupid to come up with it on their own. I know they are.
No, but we're coming up with it awful fast, aren't we?
I would agree.
I mean, we're coming up with new stuff way fast. I mean, before it would take, 30, 40, 50 years before you can really come up with stuff. And now it's just like boom, boom, boom. We've gone from the CD player to these, we can hear them on our phone and all this stuff. And the phones and even weaponry has gone just really fast. It just seems like everything's happening really fast.
Yeah. And so there's UFO sightings daily now. I've got to say, I've never seen this many sightings. Since 2019 started, we've been having daily reports.
I've heard more people talking openly about, there's got to be life on other planets, when before they'd be going, nah.
Yeah, right. And, now you've got the Navy. The Navy actually came out on the news and is taking UFO reports from pilots.
Yes.
And that's blown up. I mean, there's a lot more reports coming out through the military channels. So we're coming close to the top of the hour. When we come to the next hour, we're going to start going into the actual signs of what to look for. And we'll go from there. But to wrap up with the gray hybrid program. So, like I said, the first signs will be the triangular pattern of puncture marks on the lower abdomen, followed by dreams of being on a craft. They come back, they'll be pregnant. They'll be pregnant for about 3-4 months. They will be re-abducted. They remember being on a craft. They'll come back down, they'll be returned, and the fetus is gone. This is documented. To the point that doctors are baffled because, they knew the woman is pregnant. There is no tissue. There is no, miscarriage. There's no sign. The fetus is just gone. Disappeared. So essentially, they chalk it up as, a miscarriage. But even the doctors are baffled. So after that, the woman starts having dreams of being on the craft and being encouraged to interact with this alien hybrid, to the point that the hybrid program today So it's twofold, because about 10 years ago, certain abductees be reporting that it wasn't a normal abduction, in that it seemed to be the hybrids that were doing all the interacting, and the original grays were just observing. And so prior, in the 90 abductions, you would find the grays were more empathic. There's more empathy. They were confused. Why are they screaming? Why are they? They don't understand pain because they don't feel pain. They don't understand pain, so when the abductee is screaming in pain, they're confused, and so they try to calm them down. And they actually have a way of calming or taking the pain away through like a mind scan. And that's where they do an eye-to-eye lock, and they can alleviate the pain. Are there any questions?
That puppy is thirsty.
Oh, you can hear that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Poppy.
I thought it was yours, babe.
That's the downfall of this microphone. All right, so Kayla's got a question. Are there hybrids that are more than just one ET race and human? That's a good question. I'm not aware. I believe the hybrids, you've got different hybrids that are from different races, but you won't find multiple races in one hybrid. Not to my knowledge.
Be dangerous.
That could be dangerous. That reminds me of the mater. So the mater is a race that is combined with the what they call the essence or the genetic material from 3 very volatile, violent races. In one race, that's probably the most aggressive race against the humans.
I got a question for you, Coop.
What's that?
Can we have a gray come down and cut that pain off for me? Pain nerve, pain signal or whatever?
Sure, you want to be abducted?
Not abducted.
That's the only thing he's going to cut off?
Just make it so I don't feel any pain.
Oh!
What? I didn't say.
I'll cut it off.
That's not a doctor I'd trust. I'm sorry.
Was in Dr. Giggles. And be careful what you wish for. You know how many people come out and say, I wish I was abducted? No, you really don't.
Oh. Oh, no.
Be careful what you wish for. Again, if you haven't been abducted, you probably won't be. Stranger things have happened, but for the most part...
If Cole was abducted...
Say again?
Sorry. If Cole was abducted, he'd take a pineapple with him.
He would.
If they ever abduct me, those aliens are in for a huge surprise.
So, most of the time, your control is gone. But there have been cases where I know they abducted a college student who was in the dorms, and don't know why he had control, but he punched one in the face, and they returned him. Well, when they returned him, they didn't return him to his dorm. They returned him to the yard of the university outside his dorm, and he was butt-ass naked. Now,
oh no!
You could probably the skeptics would say, oh, that was just a drunken party. He was drunk, went to a party and came back drunk. Oh, well, that's possible too. But, memories say it all, even if they're drunken memories. And so Kayla wants to know, so do they keep the hybrids that take more after Dad's side? Some have to be more ET looking than human looking. So, and that's a good question. So oftentimes what you look at with the hybrids that you see today is they look human, but look at the eyes. The eyes are going to be a little bit bigger. Not bizarre looking. I mean, don't get me wrong, they don't look, out of place, but maybe a little bit bigger and a little more almond shaped. That's one sign. They also have abilities. They maybe not telepathy, but they can, they have better prediction, empathy, and they're actually ingrained with this. Oh, she's thirsty again.
Hey.
But no. So some of the hybrids, I know they do keep on the craft. Do they look more after Dad's side? I'm not sure.
So, okay, I have a question about that. Have you ever heard of any points where they're abducting guys to take their sperm to impregnate their women?
To impregnate their women? No. They cannot give birth.
Yeah.
But they will abduct men, take their sperm, and you could call it rape. They've actually had male humans have sex with female humans on the craft. That's just flat out rape. And they do take semen, I believe, to test for genetic material.
You said they can't get pregnant?
To my knowledge, no. That's why they're using humans.
How do they reproduce then?
They don't. That's why they're using humans.
Hey, back to this naked guy on the college campus now.
Okay.
So they kept his clothes? That was rude.
Well, I'm sure he found his clothes later under a tree or so.
I wonder if they abduct humans, and I'm not trying to be funny, but if they come down to abduct humans, do they take them with their clothes on or take them with their clothes off?
And that's an excellent point, because there have also been cases where abductees will wake up with their underwear back on backwards, inside out. In a couple of cases I heard about, they actually had somebody else's underwear on. So, yeah, that does happen. And that goes along with the signs and symptoms we'll be talking about in the second hour. Oh.
Well, that explains why people are coming back with their undies on reversed and stuff. It's because they're keeping the clothes up there, and then they forget who they belong to.
Sometimes, yeah. And Tripp's laughing at you in the chat room. He says, out in right field, Chris yells, "Get back to the naked guy." Oh, yeah.
Because I felt for this poor guy out there and butt naked, poor guy. And the aliens kept his clothes.
Oh, I think the funniest. Yeah. So I think the funniest one. Right. I think the funniest case was the case where they took the entire car. So they took an entire car, and when they returned it, the car was going the wrong way on the freeway.
Oh.
So they realized their mistake rather quickly. They retook the car and fixed it, put it back on the right side. But, it's funny. Aliens do make mistakes, and it's documented. Because, can you imagine driving down the freeway and you don't know what happened, but all of a sudden you're driving down the wrong side of the freeway?
That'd be some kind of trip.
Yeah, and Tripp says at least they didn't duct tape him to the flagpole naked.
Yeah, that would be weird on the freeway going the opposite way, but it would be weirder going the opposite way naked.
Oh, yeah. And with that, so we're going to take a break. When we come back, we will go into the signs and symptoms of abduction, so stay tuned.
You are are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
Well, hello there. Us here at S4 would like to remind you out there that the UFOI team weekly meetings are broadcast live on Facebook from Denny's, where America eats, each Monday night, 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at UFOI Team on Facebook. The UFOI team's gear, product store, and newsletter are located on their website at ufoiteam.com. To contact the UFOI team with your sightings report or a paranormal story, send an email to theufoiteam@gmail.com. Keep looking up and tell us your story.
Forest Moon Paranormal is a non-for-profit emergency response team that handles all aspects of the paranormal, helping you, your family, friends, and community since 2004. Whether you're having a problem with hauntings, spirits, Bigfoot, other types of cryptids, or UFO activity. Maybe you're just unsure of what's bothering or terrifying you. Or maybe you're just afraid of criticism and disbelief. FMP is here for you. We handle cases globally and locally from our headquarters in Skagit County, Washington. We never accept any form of payment for our services and are 100% confidential. You can find us on Facebook under Forest Moon Paranormal. You can private message us for assistance, or just come join in the discussion and become part of our growing FMP community.
Hello, my name's Cole Wegleitner with Statement of Sound DJ Productions. We do mixing, monitoring, recording, and editing for all your audio needs. For our local listeners in the Skagit area, we are taking bookings for your 2019 events and parties. We have a wide array of music from any genre. Please allow us to help you make these memories last forever. Contact us at 360-999-2830 or on Facebook at www.facebook.com/SOSDJPro.
Join us on September 28th at the Cedar-Woolley Community Center for 2019 Forest Moon Paranormal Paracon. VIP All Access passes on sale now at fmparacon.com. Your pass includes all-day admission to see the speakers and workshops, the Ghost Walk, a special VIP workshop, a special round table with the speakers, a Paracon t-shirt, and an FMP Paracon swag bag. These tickets can be purchased from fmparacon.com. Get yours today.
Hey everyone, Cole here with S4 Paranormal Radio, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. Looking for a way to get the word out there about your business, group, team, or product? Let us help you. A few clicks is all it takes to get started at s-4radio.com, or you can contact me at 360-999-2830.
Welcome back to S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
Welcome back to S4 tonight. It's all things alien abduction. You can also find the archives at our Spreaker site and on the S4 YouTube channel for all the shows you missed in the last 3 years. So with that, folks, yes, next month is our 3-year anniversary on S4. Hard to believe. So anyway, back to the show. So how's everyone doing? Are we having fun or what?
Always.
And hey, Nikki, always great to see you in the show and see you in the chat room. So, FMP, we have our paranormal pre-investigative questionnaire. And it's geared for your hauntings. We don't have one for Bigfoot reports. So pretty much if you have a Bigfoot report, you throw that in that particular form. But we have a specific form just for alien and UFO. I'm going to go straight off that form. Because it's geared based on the patterns that we actually look for. So, of course, you got your email address, you got your contact information. Then you have, was a craft seen? So, yeah, Trip, 3 years flew by. And yeah, we'll go into how S4 started and whatnot in July when we do our anniversary show. But why would we want to know if a craft was seen for an abduction case?
Maybe so you know what species it was, or what? I don't know.
Yeah,
sorry, I missed the question. Can you repeat that?
So on the pre-investigative form, we ask if a craft was seen.
Oh, okay.
So
why do you ask that? Is that your question? Why do you ask that?
Yeah.
I think Jared is right.
We can ask Keith what which aliens it is, and then you'd know what they were here for.
Perfect. So yes,
know better what you're walking into.
Yeah. So one of the first signs of a lot of abductions, not all of them, but you start looking at a timeline, and you'll find that the abductee saw a craft, saw a UFO, and then all of a sudden they saw the UFO leaving, and they've got 3 hours of time that's missing. So they saw a craft, it was 10 o'clock. You know, in one specific case I remember hearing about, they were out in the patio and they saw this very large craft. And it was hovering. And then it was a little distance away, just going the other direction. Now it's 1 o'clock in the morning. That's 3 hours of missing time.
Oh, wow.
So, quite often, it starts with a craft sighting. And you're absolutely right, though. You know, we know which races fly the cigar-shaped craft, the diamond craft. We have a pretty good base as far as which races utilizing which craft. So, based on that knowledge, you also know what the motive is of that race. Is it a science race? Is it a social science race? Is it grays? You know, you kind of know what to look for. So, was a craft seen? Yeah. So, with that, going by the shape of the craft, going by the light patterns. So, for example, the craft I saw in Iraq that was going over Syria was triangular shaped. It had green lights, it had blue lights, it had white lights. Now, based on the soldiers that were actual crew chiefs on helicopters, mechanics on helicopters, those light patterns were not terrestrial craft. Now, am I saying it was alien? No, not at all. It very well could have been, experimental craft used by the military. Maybe not our military, but UK's military, European, British forces, whatever. It could have been experimental military craft. That's always possible. But based on our U.S. soldiers that saw it with me, that no military craft, it was not ours. Now, going by Keith, based on that craft, it very well could have been consortium. So the consortium is a panel of hundreds of races that monitor the Earth. They don't care about the humans per se. They're not going to intervene with Trump being president. The only time they're going to intervene with anything on this planet is if it is devastating to the planet. If there's a nuclear strike, if there's a nuclear threat, you might see, nuclear missiles getting shut down. That's happened before. I think it was back in the 70s or 80s in Idaho. So that's where you'll see alien intervention. They don't care who's president. They don't care what the economy's like. They really don't care what's going on here as far as the humans go. So next, what's the craft look like? And again, that goes back to identifying which race it is, what the motivation is. Then you got, has there been any noticeable time missing after the sighting? That would be your second sign. And Trip is saying port, red lights, and starboard, green lights. I don't remember. Unless that's craft you've seen. But this was back in 2005. So 14 years ago. And unfortunately, I don't have the video. A buddy of mine might still have the video, but I doubt it. Again, this is 14 years ago. And it was really hard to see, even in video. So next, did you encounter any entity from the craft? So, you have some descriptions. Most of your grays are about 3 to 4 foot tall. The controllers or the doctors, or your leadership basically, is going to be the 5 to 6 foot tall. Those are the grays. They're the ones that Whitley Strieber in his books portrays. You'll see them portrayed in Close Encounter of a Third Kind. Really good depiction. They got the wraparound black eyes. That's actually only a suit. So to clarify too, and clear something up, you've got some people that are on the fence of, oh, aliens are demons. No, they're actually not. Demons are demons. Aliens are aliens. Not everything's a demon.
Okay, Eric. So we're talking about the time loss. That's bugging me now here.
Okay.
So do you think that, obviously, us as humans, when we have a tragic event, our mind can obviously close that down where we don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
So during an abduction with the time loss, do you think, in your opinion, that is our mind closing it, blocking it, or is it the aliens doing something to us to block that? And if they are, I wonder why. Now, I understand that they do procedures, but I would think if they're higher intelligence, they could block the procedure, but it's so much, there's so much news about aliens now. Why would they keep it hidden if they're actually doing it? The blocking.
So, yeah, Nikki's absolutely right. Those are repressed memories. And, that's where you have to draw the line. Yeah, that's where you have to kind of walk the line and figure out, is this person an abductee? Or is this person, did they have a traumatic experience as a child? If it's just missing time and there's no other signs, you have to look at the overall, in our case, you have to look at the overall questionnaire. How many of these signs do they have? If it's only missing time, then you have to look at the psychiatric side. Because did they have a childhood traumatic experience where they're not really missing time, but it's a mind block? The mind shut down and blocked that memory. And that's why I have a hard time with regressive hypnosis.
Right, and I understand all that. I'm asking you is if the person is actually abducted and fulfills all the signs on the questionnaire,
Mm-hmm.
and you believe it was an abduction, do you think the blocking of the information is from our mind doing it, or do you think it's the aliens doing it to us?
I think it's both. I think it can be both, because they do have that that capability as well. I think a lot of it is human, and I think depending on what the procedures they're doing, they can also block it's called oh God, let's see, memory scan. No, they do a mind block, which isn't always 100% accurate because it can come back through dreams. But yes, the aliens can do it as well. So it could go either way on that.
Hey, Eric.
Yeah.
When you were talking about the aliens, that you're not abducted now, you probably won't be abducted because, it's generational and such. Is it their first time for a certain family line? I mean, like, for instance, somebody to be abducted now, like, I don't know anybody in my family that's been abducted, although they are very peculiar. Are you saying I probably won't get to be abducted?
So, a lot of times, memories won't come back until later on in life. Oftentimes, you'll have abductees that are like in their 20s or 30s now, but all of a sudden they start having memories as a child, from when they were a child. And, all through life they were scared, and that's actually one of the signs too. They'll have an unexplained fear of deer, of rabbits, of doctor's lights, and deer and rabbits because it's called screen memory. And the aliens can appear, the Greys can appear as deer, mask themselves as deer aliens, but they can't hide their eyes. So they'll always have big eyes. So, deer and rabbits, for example, have big eyes. So you may not remember an abduction until later on in life when it starts, coming back through dreams, memories, things of that nature. But it doesn't mean you weren't. And we'll come back to more of the signs, and it's interesting. So when we did our very first abduction show back in 2017, and it was Markham and I doing the abduction show, and Markham kind of freaked out because he fit like 20 signs, and he's, oh my God, does that make me an abductee? I was like, well, it might. We'll talk after the show. And we did. So Kayla is saying there are certain types of seizures and other medical issues that cause missing time too. And many people don't even know they have them till someone else sees it happen. And, this goes back to making sure an abductee, someone that says they've been abducted, making sure they've been thoroughly examined by a medical doctor. Because a lot of the signs can be medical issues, like the nosebleeds. They can be implants, but they can also be high blood pressure, anemia. Sleep paralysis. So, sleep paralysis is one of the signs. I don't think it is. It's on our list. But sleep paralysis is essentially, when it comes to the mundane explanations, basically that point of time when you're waking up, but your body hasn't connected with your mind yet. And there have been cases where, with sleep paralysis, people describe seeing, it's called the old hag experience, where you'll see what looks like an entity, a shadow creature, and some people with abduction. Doesn't mean you've been abducted. Doesn't mean you're having a paranormal experience. It just means your mind hasn't connected to your body yet. And I can't remember what the time period is. I think it's like the first 30 seconds before you're fully awake. And Nikki says sleep apnea too. And I'm not I know what sleep apnea is. I've got it, but applying it to abduction, I haven't studied that side yet. Tripping, yes, sleepwalking. We'll get there. It's not even on my list because sleepwalking is also another medical condition. But there's a difference between sleepwalking and what abductees go through. So you'll have abductees that sometimes they wake up and they're in the woods. They don't know how they got there. Was it sleepwalking? Not necessarily. Other times they'll go in the woods. They'll wake up. They went to bed as normal, and they'll have dreams of being in the woods. And they'll wake up and their feet's muddy. They got leaves in their bed. Their sheets are muddy. They actually walked in the woods, and they don't know how they got, what happened, until they start having dreams. So again, the experience seeps through the memory through dream activity, which is why we always encourage a dream journal. And let's see here. So any other questions? Great questions coming in, guys.
What if your memory leaves you, like as soon as you wake up and you can't remember most of the dream or even some of it?
I would write down what you remember, because the rest of it will come back through further dreams.
Okay.
Because again, and that's why, with abductees or anyone with a paranormal that's got bizarre experiences, I would keep a notebook by your bed so that as soon as you wake up, you write down what you remember, because throughout the day, you're going to start losing details. Unless you're like me, where, I have haunting dreams that just haunt me all day long. But that's PTSD, that's not anything else. But, yeah, did you encounter an entity from the craft? So oftentimes, they'll actually see a being walking down the hall. They'll see their door closed. They'll another thing, what's interesting is with the similarity with paranormal activity and abduction is aliens that come through the wall. They can pass through your wall. And I remember the Hudson Valley, New York abduction, probably one of the most documented because of who witnessed it. And I think it was one of the UN ambassadors was crossing the Brooklyn Bridge, and he actually saw and testified to this, but he saw a dish-shaped craft outside an apartment building, and it was like on the 30th floor. I don't remember which floor it was, but he actually saw a woman floating out a window into the craft. And, going by the abductee's testimony with a UN ambassador's, witness testimony, one of the many best documented abduction cases. But yeah, sometimes they'll basically levitate you off your bed and through a window, through a wall. In some cases, they've been taken down through the floor. Those are common with MyLabs, which we're not going to get into MyLabs. That's a whole other can of worms. So the duration of the sighting. Let's see. Nikki says might be a hot button topic, but have you worked with active military personnel who have had missing time from alien abduction? I'm thinking no, because you're not going to find too many active duty military personnel who actually talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
That's just when I was Army and my captain found out I was studying UFOs and was into the UFO field, I got ridiculed. I was only a specialist. I wasn't worried about losing rank. I wasn't worried about he's going to keep me from being promoted. It's out of his hands. But the higher up the chain you get, the more you have to lose. So you're not going to find. You're not going to find a whole lot of higher-ranking military talking about UFO or paranormal experiences in general.
Till they retire.
No, that's when they come out. That's when they come out and talk about it. Let's see. Then we always ask, do you have any photographic evidence available? Now, photographic evidence can be scoop marks. It can be... Okay, so real quick. Kayla's got, to your knowledge, is there any connection between alien abduction and onset of autoimmune disorders? That's another good question, but one I haven't looked at. Are you taking notes, Kayla?
You gotta give it a minute. She's not listening in on my conversation, so
take notes, and these are things we'll actually research and talk about the next time we do the abduction show. So we are going to do we're going to hit abductions probably every other month. Just because I know we have new listeners that come in every other month. We have new listeners every show. So I like to bring it up because, I want to go back. And so for those that know FMP well, we do promos every week on about, what is it, Cole, 120 different groups?
Yes.
And when I first started doing the promos, and I get accused, you're just trying to get glory, you're trying to be you're trying to be famous. No, I'm really not. I have, you know what? I have a whole lot of other things I could be doing than doing paranormal. We've turned down TV shows. We've turned down, if we wanted to be famous, we could have been famous a long time ago. That's not the goal. The goal is to help people. But when I first started doing promos, the reason we do promos is, one, because we need more people on the team. So if you're local and you're listening and you want to join the team, by all means, we need you. And two, you find your clients in other groups. So we have a lot of admins in these other groups that actually watch for people that need help that other teams cannot help, because we're an emergency response team. That's all we do. We're not here for evidence. I don't give a darn about your pictures or your evidence. I don't care. Our team knows for a fact, not even a theory, we know for a fact that the paranormal is real. We see it all the time, every time we do a case. So, teams that collect evidence, there's a reason for them, and there's reasons they do that, and they're needed. That's just not our goal. Our goal is to help people and give them their life back. So, a lot of the admins of these other 120 groups, when they see someone that really needs help, that's getting bad information, bad advice, they'll send them to us and we'll take care of the situation. But when I first started doing the promos, they were getting put in alien and abduction and UFO groups, paranormal groups in general, haunting groups, and I caught all kinds of hell. Why are you posting alien stuff in our group? Aliens and UFOs aren't paranormal. Well, what are they then? They're not normal. If they're not normal, that would make them paranormal. paranormal is an umbrella term for cryptids, Bigfoot, UFOs, alien abduction, ghosts, hauntings, malevolent entities. It's a whole spectrum. So it gets irritating.
Eric, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Aliens are beings. Have you ever heard any report of anybody getting a footprint?
Actually, yes. There was a case we had in, oh God, what state was that? I want to say Ohio. And she actually did have footprints. But that was a smorgasbord of a whole lot of other activity and the situations going on that we couldn't close because of the location she was in. And her locale to a certain military base, which was also an influence with that.
Yeah.
And that was about 4 years ago.
I also remember a couple of years, or the second Paracon, I think it was. I actually got to talk to Keith about a footprint that I had seen, now, quite a few years back. And it was quite a weird one, and I explained it to him, and he actually said what race it was. So I actually did see an alien footprint.
Yeah, and Nikki says handprint. And, you know, there's a lot of equipment that FMP needs to get still. A blue light, for example, I can't remember what they call them. They use them in forensic evidence. You know, I can get them in forensic catalogs, actually. Kind of like a dark light. But a dark light will actually show an alien handprint, for example. But, yeah, there have been cases of footprints, handprints, things of that nature from aliens. They are rare. But, yes, they do happen. Well, hell, even Brent's seen one. But you won't find them too often. A lot of these races are very careful. They don't want to be seen. They don't want their agenda known. And they have the technology, usually, depending on what race it is, to help hide that. So moving along. And we love photographic evidence. That's always a plus. And even evidence in general. So we do have Markham. Markham is our scientist. If we collect evidence, what do we do with it? We send it to Markham. That way we have our own lab to process it. Instead of evidence getting lost. So the next set of questions, and we'll go into that, and there's a reason for it. Yeah, and so Kayla's bringing up, yeah, I remember hearing something about a guy chopping off an alien extremity, and the extremity mysteriously disappearing from a lab he sent it to. Yeah, that's common.
The lab blew up.
That was probably a different case.
Friend, it was talked about probably 3 months ago in one of our shows.
Okay. Yeah, was that the lab in Texas that blew up?
No, it was on the East Coast, but it was, I want to say Skinwalker Ranch, somewhere around there.
Okay.
The guy cut the alien's arm off with a katana.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
And sent it to his friend in, like, New York, I think, or somewhere.
Right. We'd have to go back and listen to the archives.
Mysteriously blew up.
Go back and listen to the archives, folks. I don't remember what show that was either, do you? That wasn't the Butch Wachowski show, was it?
No, this was before that time, so I want to say this was before Christmas.
Okay. So Nikki wants to know, how can one retrieve an alien hand or footprint that only shows up under the blue light? Because I was informed that it's incredibly difficult to pull the print. Have you ever been able to pull a print before? No, because I've never actually seen a print. I would love to see a print. So there's ways through forensic, again, forensic equipment. There's special tape that you can use to try to pull it. I would also use a swab and try to get the oil that made the print and send that oil, because anytime you have a print, it was caused by either an oil or a resin that's taken off the skin of whatever left it. So I would probably try to get a swab of it, as well as pull it off with tape. And I would send the swab to a lab for analysis. But no, you know what? I would love to see a print. If anyone has an alien print, by all means, give us a call. We'll be there in as quick as we can. If you're local, we don't travel outside Washington. But by all means, depending on where you're at, I could probably have somebody come in and retrieve it. Hey, Matthew. We have Matthew in the chat room. So, the next set of questions. Did you have an interest in UFO or aliens before this event? So why would that be significant?
Because a lot of the times if you can mentally convince yourself that you're believing or seeing things.
You're awesome. Exactly. If if you're watching alien movies, if you're reading alien books, your mind can be susceptible to picking that up, and you're going to dream about it. The thing you look at, do you have the marks? And we'll get into the marks here shortly. Do you have the physical signs? But again, we look at this questionnaire. This questionnaire was specifically designed. We can kind of look at the overall picture, and based on which signs you've got, again, we look at the medical, we look at the psychiatric, and we look at the suggestive. And these would go with the suggestive. So, are you affiliated with any UFO groups or organizations? So why would that be significant?
They want to know if you're pushing their agenda.
Excellent. Excellent. I love this panel. You guys are great. Are there signs of a craft having landed? I would love to find a landed craft. So things you look for with a craft,
especially landing. With the keys in it,
right? As long as we're wearing a level 1 hazmat suit.
I don't even care. I'm going in.
No. You're gonna get radiation poisoning.
Yeah, but it's gonna be one heck of a ride before I die.
And yeah, you're absolutely right, Trip. So especially 2 hours before bedtime, mine is still playing what it was watched. So again, getting back to equipment that we need to get a Geiger counter, specifically for crop circles and specifically for landing sites. So you look for trace radiation with crop circles or even landing sites. You look for genetic manipulation of crops or grass wherever the landing is. Which is why we need to know, is there a landing site? Because a landing site gives you more credence. If we can prove a craft landed there, chances are you were probably abducted along with it. Next question is, are there crop circles? Go ahead.
No, how would you prove that?
So once you've proven, how would you prove there's a landed craft?
Yeah.
Again, through the radiation. If you have trace radiation, and if you have genetic manipulation of the grass or the crops where it was landed in, and then you take an aerial picture. We have a drone for that. So if so what you look for with a landing site is it circular? Is it? And I'll get to that, Nikki. Nikki's got an excellent question. Is it circular? Is it triangular? Those are the common shapes. And that's how you show, based on our experience, that's how you would show if a craft landed there. Are you going to prove that to other people? Are you going to prove that to the government? Probably not. The government's going to tell you to shut up, and they'll take over anyway.
Right. What I was wondering, though, is because it's so hard for you guys to get the credibility, and I know you're not trying to, specifically go out and get that, but how, everything that people like the Bigfoot sightings and such, when the evidence is presented, it's always this, we don't know. We can't tell that it's not from here or whatever, but they can say whatever they want, but they never have an answer for it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you see these like manipulations, radiations or such, and you turn it in, what will they come back and say? They're just going to come back and say they don't know what it is, or will they just make something up?
So a lot of those, so let's talk about that for a second, because a lot of these teams and investigators, most of them are great. Don't get me wrong. And so Paranormal TV, I just talked about this on in a chat room on another show here a couple of days ago, that Paranormal TV did two things. It did great with exposing the public that there is paranormal activity, that paranormal is real. But then they took it too far, and people thought Paranormal TV was reality. It's not. It's entertainment. Pure entertainment. So then you've got people that, we can go be paranormal investigators. And they took all their education off Paranormal TV. Not experience. Anyone that wants to get in this field, I suggest you find yourself a team in your area that has over 5 years experience. Any team to me that's under 5 years are newbies. That's my opinion. Because how many cases does any team under 5 years have under their belt? Not many. Most of them are weekend warriors, and they only go out maybe 1 weekend a month. And they only go to hot spots. That's not experience. So when you're looking at these other shows, when you're looking at what they say about Bigfoot and the evidence they've got, the only evidence you'll find really with Bigfoot is footprints and tree knocks. You're not going to get a good picture. There's been too many people that they put game cams out, and they won't get a picture of Bigfoot because the camera goes white. And it's not a technical malfunction. Well, it is in that sense. But the camera goes back to normal once the deer come out and the rabbits come out and Bigfoot's gone. That, to me, shows an interdimensional being. That's the only thing that I can think of that would, create a camera technical disturbance. So that's why they're not getting evidence. Because they're not going to find Bigfoot unless Bigfoot wants to be found. That's the bottom line. They're not going to get a picture or a video that's valid unless he wants his picture taken or his video taken. Just my opinion. And,
First Kardashian Bigfoot.
Right?
Taking selfies.
Now, Harry and the Hendersons comes to mind.
Eric, question about these crop circles. Has there been testing, like when the aircraft lands? I would think there would be some sort of a, like it dried out the crop in that area, maybe brittle crop. I mean, is there anything that the ship does to this crop when they land?
Oh, yeah. So, back in, I think it was the 70s, there was a couple of UK men in the UK that they came out and they said, "Oh yeah, crop circles, that was just us," and they showed how they they had this contraption they built that was made of boards, and they made a crop circle right in front of everybody. But what they didn't account for was, so while they're doing this, there's like 100 other crop circles throughout England, for example. And yeah, they didn't travel over 100, no, it wasn't them. They might have made one or two in their local area. But what they didn't account for was with crop circles, with valid crop circles. So you'll take, how tall is a stalk of corn? About 6 foot?
7 for a good year.
Right. So you'll take a 7-foot stalk of corn. And these are, significantly sized crop circles, but they'll take the stalk of corn, bend the stalk without breaking it, and intertwine it with other stalks without breaking the corn stalk. Then, if you take a corn stalk out of the middle of this crop circle and you send it to a lab, you will find genetic manipulation in the cell structure. That's how you know.
How's that explained?
It's not. It's never been explained. Because, God forbid, we can't say there's UFOs out there. So, some of the explanations, which are asinine, it was a satellite. Really? A satellite beamed a laser down from the heavens and created some of the designs that you see. I don't think so.
Yeah, satellites.
Other explanations were, I think it was a cell tower that was defunct, for lack of a better word. And again, yeah, good luck with that. So in the 80s, there was a video made where the guy actually got a video of a crop circle being made. And you see an orb of light. You see an orb come across the field, disappear, and the crop circle is made. Now, what was the orb? That would be a UFO. Any more questions? So does that answer your question, Jimmy, about crop circles and valid proof of how you prove it?
Well, you kind of answered it. My question when they answer ours.
Okay.
There's not really anything that we're going to be able to ever do to say that there is a Bigfoot, crop circles, or anything, because no matter what we come up with, the powers that be are going to come up with a bunch of other crap.
And you're absolutely right. But
all right, for the win.
No, you are. You're absolutely right. It's never going to be proven on that regard because, well, yeah, it's not real.
Well,
until
not by humans.
Until the government comes out and says this is happening, which they never will. The only proof we need is to prove it to ourselves as a team so that we can help the client.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we look at it.
Right. It would just be nice. It would just be nice if you guys, like, for instance, when we have missing people up here, Eric, your services, are sometimes not taken, very seriously or whatever, and that could really be of help if they would allow that, but they won't because of the lack of proof, and they think that everything that, is paranormal and stuff and all that kind of stuff is just crap, right? Like the people, when that gal went missing, they didn't want anybody that, to come in and help that was from the team.
Well, yeah, and you're absolutely right, and we'll always face that. And if we let people like that, get us down every time, look at the concrete group, for example. The crap some people laugh about and think is just funny, and it's okay. They can think that. That's their right. But when something happens to them, they hear a Bigfoot knock, they see a Bigfoot, they see a UFO. They might call us. They might not. It's up to them. I don't care. We stay busy anyway.
Actually, reaching the people from the concrete group, some of them, I might add, would not be aliens because they're searching for intelligent life down here, right?
Oh, Jamie.
I know. It's live radio, though.
Oh, no, it doesn't matter. What I have noticed, though, because FMP has been going since 2004. We moved here to concrete and set up headquarters in 2012 in concrete, right here on Haystack. And when we first started, when I set up the concrete group, for example, it was about 2014. It's been running for about 5 years now. And when I first started putting out anything FMP, paranormal, the responses were, oh my God, if I even got a response, were just, oh my God, you're a nutcase kind of, reaction. Compared to today, though, today it seems a lot more open, a lot more talked about, a lot more accepted than it was when we first started talking it in 2014. I will say that. And that's a good sign.
That's progress.
It is. So, Trip.
What you did say about paranormal TV, though?
What? Yeah.
I gotta say, for all the people that watch one of those shows and then say, oh, well, I can do that. Friend, I watch Survivor, man. I watch Naked and Afraid. That doesn't mean I'm gonna go do that crap. Think, people, before you actually say these things. Come on.
Well, and they don't go in and fix the issue. They go in and stir everything up, and they do not complete and fix it like we do.
That's right.
Well, what kills me? So I can't tell you, and I'm going to throw out, I would say, and it's probably low, 4 out of 10 cases that we do have had other teams come in. One case specifically, I can tell you, had 2 different teams that came in at 2 different times. The first team said, oh my God, the paranormal's real. And they ran out. Terrified. Okay, so you've done 2 things. One, you've pissed off what's there. And 2, you validated the fear of the client. And then you ran out. Because, oh my God, the paranormal's real. Well, what did you think, dumbass? So and she had another team that came in and they couldn't fix the problem, and they left. And you've got clients that lose hope because now where are they going to turn?
And it makes them more afraid because they don't want to reach out because, it's real now. So
nobody can fix me. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly, because they called in the people that are supposed to be able to fix the problem. They claim to be paranormal investigators. If they can't fix it, who can?
And then with these cases that have had other groups do it, we go in as extended care to teach them the protection, and they're like, I don't know what that is. And I'm just floored. I'm like, what? How many of these groups are out there that are not teaching the client protection? And it just amazes me. It's be complete or don't do it.
Well, how many of them are out there that aren't doing protection themselves?
Oh, yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'd say 2 teams out of 100 actually believe in protection, let alone teach a client protection.
And that's ridiculous.
And that's not even an exaggeration because you hear it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know,
It's
so
crazy.
We're coming to the top of the last hour, or the second hour. But you know, FMP, we didn't really believe in ghost tours or ghost walks, but we are doing one this year, and we're doing one this year because you know it's requested. People want one, and I think the best way to teach them or show them the paranormal is to actually have professionals take them on the walk, which is why Mike Morin and Ross Ellison are going to be the two to lead the ghost walk at Northern State. Say again?
Wow.
So the reason we changed our mind about having a ghost walk, because I believe a ghost walk can be done if it's done right. If you teach the public before they go on this ghost walk how to protect themselves. Then they go on the ghost walk. And while they're on the ghost walk, we have our astral team on standby to observe, to make sure, you know, there's no attachments, there's nothing negative that can go wrong, so they stay safe before and after the ghost walk.
Oh, yeah.
That's how you do one right.
Yep.
So yes, we are doing a ghost walk of Paragon at Northern State Dairy. More information on that, go to the fmparacon.com website and get your tickets locked in. Because you're not going to get better instructors on leading a ghost walk than Mike Morin and Ross Allison anywhere. Just my opinion, of course.
Mine too.
Mine too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Dretta, we got to get you caught up. There's a lot of things going on.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
And welcome back, Dretta.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Glad to have you back.
So
I missed my family.
Exactly.
Likewise.
So, okay, so we're coming to the top of the hour. So when we come back, have there been any recent animal mutilations? That's a topic all by itself. So we'll hit that when we come back. So stay tuned.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
Well, hello there. Us here at S4 would like to remind you out there that the UFOI team weekly meetings are broadcast live on Facebook from Denny's, where America eats, each Monday night, 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at UFOI Team on Facebook. The UFOI team's gear, product store, and newsletter are located on their website at ufoiteam.com. To contact the UFOI team with your sightings report or a paranormal story, send an email to theufoiteam@gmail.com. Keep looking up and tell us your story.
Forest Moon Paranormal is a non-for-profit emergency response team that handles all aspects of the paranormal, helping you, your family, friends, and community since 2004. Whether you're having a problem with hauntings, spirits, Bigfoot, other types of cryptids, or UFO activity. Maybe you're just unsure of what's bothering or terrifying you. Or maybe you're just afraid of criticism and disbelief. FMP is here for you. We handle cases globally and locally from our headquarters in Skagit County, Washington. We never accept any form of payment for our services and are 100% confidential. You can find us on Facebook under Forest Moon Paranormal. You can private message us for assistance, or just come join in the discussion and become part of our growing FMP community.
Hello, my name's Cole Wegleitner with Statement of Sound DJ Productions. We do mixing, monitoring, recording, and editing for all your audio needs. For our local listeners in the Skagit area, we are taking bookings for your 2019 events and parties. We have a wide array of music from any genre. Please allow us to help you make these memories last forever. Contact us at 360-999-2830 or on Facebook at www.facebook.com/SOSDJPro.
Join us on September 28th at the Cedro Woolley Community Center for 2019 Forest Moon Paranormal Paracon. VIP All Access passes on sale now at fmparacon.com. Your pass includes all-day admission to see the speakers and workshops, the Ghost Walk, a special VIP workshop, a special round table with the speakers, a Paracon t-shirt, and an FMP Paracon swag bag. These tickets can be purchased from fmparacon.com. Get yours today.
Hey everyone, Cole here with S4 Paranormal Radio, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. Looking for a way to get the word out there about your business, group, team, or product? Let us help you. A few clicks is all it takes to get started at s-4radio.com, or you can contact me at 360-999-2830.
Welcome back to S4 with your host, Indepth Cooper.
Welcome back to S4 tonight. It's all things alien abduction. You can also find the archives at our Spreaker site and on the S4 YouTube channel for all the shows you've missed the last, I can't believe it, 3 years. Anyway, back to the show. So, we were talking, before we left, we were just hitting cattle mutilations, or animal mutilations. So, what do we think? And there have been some rare cases of human mutilations as well, specifically in Norway. What do we think those are? Is it government or is it alien? So,
or both.
Well, I think it's both. Because if you look at bovine blood, it's the closest in animals to human blood.
Huh.
Whereas, when you're talking pigs, the pig skin is the closest skin in animals to humans, which is why, oftentimes when someone needs a skin graft, it's either taken off the thigh or they'll get pig skin grafted onto them.
It's also why certain agencies, when they're testing close-range weapons, they will use pigs as targets.
Say that again?
A lot of agencies will use pigs as targets when they're testing close-range weaponry.
Oh, okay, I got you. And so this isn't talked about in the military, but I know in 18 Delta, which is Special Forces School, until PETA got involved, to be tested, they would shoot a goat in the heart. And they didn't have to keep the goat alive, but if they did all the procedures correctly, they passed. So, animals in general are used for experimentation all the time. And we won't talk about Fort Lewis.
Not with my shampoo.
Right? So, for more information on animal abduction, I think the best researcher I've found is Linda Moulton Howe. And I'd love to get her on the show. Look for a book called Alien Harvest. It was written, I think, in the 80s or 90s. And Illusion of Reality 1 and 2 are also excellent. And Joe says people are really milking this subject. What subject is that? Animal mutilation? And Trip is in using tilapia fish skin now for burn victims as well. Okay, I didn't know that either.
Oh yeah, I saw something about that. That
Did
was
you?
actually a pretty cool thing that they're doing.
Better than when they brought
Who
up
milks
milking.
cockroaches?
I don't. No, hell no. No.
You gotta have really nimble fingers.
They're milking cows, okay. And there are happy cows in California. I saw that commercial. So, the first cases of cattle mutilation were documented in the 1970s, and it started with a horse. I can't remember the horse's name. I should remember this.
Mr. Ed.
No, it wasn't.
A horse with no
Moo.
name.
I want to say Tippy. Tippy the horse. I can't remember, though.
That's more fitting for a cow.
I'm sorry, Nikki. We got to backtrack for a second because, so she was asking earlier about radiation in trees. No, I didn't get to that. So, yes, and that's why Google Maps is great because when it comes to trees and vegetation, you can actually see. So what you look for with trees is if you have a ring of dead trees, that's a good indication that there's been a craft, or it's just an indication that there's something on the ground that, caused radiation that was human-made that killed the trees. So we had a case about 6 years ago in North Carolina. And the first thing that was apparent to me when I looked at the map was there was a ring of dead trees. And I brought that up to the client, and they said that, there had been a ring of dead trees there for years. But the particular case that we were actually looking into, which I outsourced to another team because they were closer, and we needed more boots on ground for that particular situation. But it involved a missing kid who had come out on the porch and disappeared, and his T-shirt was between the cracks of the porch boards, like he had been pulled down. And like hours later, he reappeared. He didn't know where he had been. He had missing time, which is why I outsourced that particular case to another team. So a lot of weirdness goes on in the cases we do. I think y'all would agree.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't change it at all. And it gives clients their home back and their life back. And we're talking, so next week is Father's Day. I'm not sure what we're going to do. What are we going to do, Cole?
You mean on actual Father's Day? Because I know exactly what I'm going to do.
No, on the show.
Oh.
Maybe we'll just have a smorgasbord.
Well, that would be good.
So, if you're in the chat room, what are we going to do on Father's Day? Say again, Brent.
A call-in show?
That's a hard one because I got to figure out what our phone number is.
Oh.
And then you got to ask me to do more technical stuff. I don't know how to answer a call-in show. I can barely call the panel in.
1-866 probe for everyone. No.
No, don't call that number. You don't know what you're going to get.
You get them to call Brent's phone, and then we can put the question.
Oh, there you go. That works. That works. So let's plan for a call-in show next week for Father's Day.
Okay, I got the solution, though. If these aliens want to keep naked people, they should go to a nudist colony.
Leave it to Chris to bring up the naked people again.
Oh my God, they actually do milk cockroaches.
So Trippin's in the chat room, and he says cockroach milk. Yes, you read that right.
Yeah.
By NPR
That's
staff
close.
and Emerald Alex Ware, Weekend Edition, Saturday. Pour out that almond milk. The new hip thing is cockroach milk.
Oh, no.
I ain't drinking it.
Gross.
Well, kind of. The female Pacific beetle cockroach is one of a kind. Unlike other insect species, this Hawaiian native gives birth to the young, and she feeds them a pale yellow liquid, quote-unquote, milk from her brood sac. But the craziest thing, cut open an embryonic beetle roach, and their guts will spill out nutrient-rich milk crystals that shimmer like glitter. And the chat, or the text, the website is in the chat room.
I'm just saying, if that's one of the things the aliens gave to us as technology, they can go back home.
Right.
We're done.
So much for technology. No, they can keep the cockroach milk. Yeah, I'll get a cow. And Trip says,
Okay, Eric.
What?
What do you think of that movie, The Fourth Kind? That was kind of a freaky one.
I love it, and it's based on fact.
The Fourth Kind.
It is based on real cases.
It was kind of scary. I mean, just the reality scary.
So, some skeptics out there came out and said, "Oh, that was just like Blair Witch Project. It was meant to just be a movie, and it's not based on fact." I believe it's based on fact, to be honest with you.
That's what I heard, and I have to look, though. But they said that town is supposed to be one of the most active alien abduction spots. I mean, they probably didn't shoot it in that town, but the town that they talk about in the movie.
Is that the one in
Alaska?
Alaska?
In Alaska.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of hot spots. I wouldn't give any one spot credence to being the most active because there's a lot of hot spots on this planet. Hudson Valley, New York, for example, had a whole flap for 2 years. You got Snowflake, Arizona with Travis Walton. You got Pascagoula, Mississippi with that case. You know, we've got daily sightings in the UK today. So I'm not going to give any one spot. You've got the most. No, maybe for Alaska, but there's hot spots all over this planet. Look at Skinwalker Ranch. Look at, I mean, we could go on. We have gone on. We've had shows on crashed UFO sighting or locations. We've had, no, but as far as the movie, I would say it's based on fact. Based on the patterns and the information that was in the movie, it's very realistic if it isn't fact.
What do you think of Area 51? What's your take on that? What do you think's there?
So, going back to Bob Lazar, Bob Lazar has hit the news, I believe, this year or end of last year, coming back out. I think Bob Lazar was accurate. Element 115, I think it was.
Yes.
115 or 117? No, 115.
Yep.
He was talking about
115.
element 115 before they came out and talked about it and said, oh, wow, there really is an element 115. Really? Is it still being used for alien technology or experimental craft? I believe so. But I believe they've moved a lot of their technology as well to other locations.
Yes. I believe that too.
Otherwise, why would it still be a, shoot to kill location? They wouldn't keep it so classified if there wasn't something there.
Yeah, it's something about 52 or 54.
Yeah. Now,
Go
ahead.
I was just saying is where some things might have been moved to, because you don't hear anything about the other areas.
No, because
everybody knows about 51, but nobody hears about 52. Nobody hears about 54. So, and there's a lot of them out there.
And
obviously at least 50.
You've got Pine Gap, Australia.
Yeah.
Another military base, government, U.S. government, Australian government joint venture. That is so far out in the middle of nowhere, you're going to run out of gas. You won't have enough gas to get back home. They've got that for a reason. And yes, so Joe says S4 is on Area 51. Yeah, it is, and that's what the name. That's where our show.
Storage.
That's where our show comes from. So S4 is actually a bunker in Area 51 in the side of a mountain.
Storage bunker.
Yep. So Nikki says she saw Bob Lazar speak at the McMenamin's UFO Festival in McMinnville, Oregon. He was asked about 115.
Oh.
Yeah, he was talking about Element 115 back in the 80s. That's how far back he goes.
I watched a show on that. It wasn't there, and now all of a sudden it's there on the chart, on the element chart.
Yeah, it came out, I believe, in the 90s. The element in public knowledge. But no, he was talking about Element 115 back when he worked on, when he first came out and started talking about the sport model UFO. And it's amazing because, when I was in the Army, and I actually found the tester model of Bob Lazar's UFO. And I bought it, I put it together. I had a whole bag of research material stolen.
Oh.
And
good stuff you weren't supposed to have, somebody thought.
Yeah. And so Joe, I've actually seen the Janet flights. So the flights that go to Area 51 fly out of the Las Vegas airport. They're all white, and they say Janet, and they have their own. What's the word?
They have their own crew, don't they?
Say again?
They have their own crew and everything?
Oh, yeah. And nobody can talk to them. No, they can't talk to anybody.
No.
So Kayla says she heard it speculated that Area 51 is a housing facility for different strains of deadly viruses. No. Deadly viruses are housed on Dugway Proving Grounds. There's actually a biolab there.
Yep.
So that's where you're going to find deadly viruses.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't
that's what they had.
Walk in there and find them.
Well, they actually
they have Ebola and everything else.
They actually had strains of anthrax stolen out of Dugway.
Yep.
A few years ago.
I remember that.
So.
Good job, government.
And that's why I study what I study. But moving on, here we go. Any more about animal mutilations?
never really thought about the animal mutilations.
Well,
well,
you don't.
it's not as common here.
No, you don't hear about it so much either. It really has gone off the charts a little bit.
And with this being such a wooded area, it's not as identifiable.
And that's
like
true.
You go up into the or down like over to the prairies. And
Yeah, I was thinking like Colorado, Kansas, Nebraska, even.
Yeah, you get a cow that's just laying there, and it has just been like its insides are turned inside out. And that's not normal.
Yeah.
Well, no, okay, so with cattle mutilations, picture this back in the 70s. You might see this technology more often today, but back in the 70s, we didn't have lasers. And
yeah,
so what they would find these, the farmer would go out to his field, he'd find one of his cows laying down, and her eyes are missing. They aren't, you've got people, they were occult sacrifices. No, these were laser surgically cut. Surgical precision. So it wasn't predatory. It wasn't a predatory animal to kill it. There was part of the jaw that was cut out, again with a laser. The rectum was cut out, again with a laser. Part of the sex glands were cut out, again with a laser. The mammary glands were cut out. And all this with laser precision. So if you look at, coyote, if you look at wolf, bear, cougar, they rip. So these organs are going to be ripped out, not cut out with a laser. And again, all the bones in the body were broken because it was dropped from the air. So there were other cases where it was in a snowy field. They followed the tracks. The tracks disappear. And the body might be, a quarter mile away. No tracks leading up to it. No tracks around it. Dogs won't go near it. So something bizarre happened. Was it government? It could have been. Was it alien? It could have been. But that was just another one of the phenomena. And, okay. So Nikki brings up, weren't they also the cuts were cauterized? Yeah, the blood was drained out.
Oh.
And not a not a drop of blood on the ground.
That's really weird.
So that's the cattle mutilation phenomena. So now we're going to go over the more common signs of abduction that we deal with. Again, nosebleeds during sleep. And these are, they wake up, they have dry blood on their pillow. What we look at, again, anemia. Is it high blood pressure? Is the air in your room dry? Because that'll cause nosebleeds. When it comes to the abduction side, that's caused generally by the implant in the nasal cavity. Dreams. Second sign. Pay attention to your dreams. Your dreams will tell you everything. That's where the conscious recall comes from. And that's where we tell the potential abductee, pay attention, get a dream journal. Missing time, usually again after a UFO sighting. Not always, but then again, you look at the set of patterns we look at, the set of signs. Missing time can also be, again, your mind closed the door, forgetting a trauma.
Yeah.
Implant, a raised bump in the skin. We already went over the implants. So, again, common places are behind the ear, the nasal cavity, in between the fingers, in between the toes, in the fingers and toes, sometimes in the legs. You look for a raised area in the skin. It can be a tumor. It can be a cyst. It can be other things. It's not always going to be an implant. Unexplained bruises or marks. So with that, what you look at there is, do you have a sleeping partner? Are you getting kicked in your sleep? Again, are you anemic and it's causing you, are you easily bruised? Yeah. But what's not explained are what called scoop marks. And I'm reading the chat room, so I'll get to those two in a second, Nikki and Kayla. Scoop marks look like someone took a little tiny spoon and scooped the skin out. So you have like a divot it's usually in your legs and your arms. And those are scoop marks. And they're basically taking a sample of your skin to test for genetic anomalies. That's another sign. And that's kind of a hard one to explain out of all of them. You can look at the medical signs for nosebleeds. You can look at the psychiatric signs for sleep paralysis. You really can't explain a scoop mark. So, Kayla, do you think the Dyatlov Pass incident was ETs? Dyatlov Pass, for those that I'm not going to go into detail with it, but there was 9 students in Russia that went hiking on Dyatlov Pass. They were camping. They were on the way back down. They came up missing. They were found. Their tents were actually found ripped open, but from the inside. Like somebody actually ripped through the tent to get out. Just like with cattle mutilation, if I remember right, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, the eyes were missing out of 2 of them. Again with surgical precision. I believe the tongue was cut out. Again with surgical precision. Was it alien? I don't know. I don't think anyone's ever really proven that. There's a lot of government secrecy with that one. It could have been, a military experiment gone wrong. Another thing that was noticed with that case was the last 2 pictures that were taken off one of the cameras. One had an orb. One had a Bigfoot-looking creature. And, that one has never been explained fully. Some people have theories. But there's a whole show you could do and other shows that have actually been done on the Dyatlov Pass. Nikki wants to know, can't the implants also be in the aura or in the astral? Usually they're physical. I can't answer that one properly as far as auric implants. It's possible. It's just not something we deal with. And hello, Sandra. Sandra's jumping in the chat saying hello to S4.
And Trip, thanks. I'm never going to be able to eat a little melon ball again. Damn it.
So I'm trying to think. And again, with the unexplained bruises and marks, going back to, you have puncture marks. Not all of them are from the Gray Hybrid program. The first ones that were actually documented and discussed was the triangular pattern in the lower abdomen of females. But, so you have a client that's describing or taking pictures of puncture marks. First thing, and it might sound bad, but first thing I'm going to look at is drug history. If that's the only sign. Again, scoop marks, kind of hard to explain. Bruises and whatnot, a little easier to explain. Now, when you're talking kids are accident prone. So if all you've got is bruising and cuts and things like that, our kids have bruises that pop up out of the blue. I know yours probably do too, Cole, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, and I can actually explain the scoop marks because I have a few and I know what they're from.
Okay.
And they're from me being a young child and thinking that when I got a blister, well, heck, let's pop that sucker. And then when it filled again, let's pop it again. You know, like, and eventually it did turn into a scoop mark as I got older on my skin.
So one difference, and I'm not arguing, it's possible, and I agree, but a difference with alien-created scoop marks is they will in time fill in. I think we talked about that, 3 weeks ago, a month ago?
Yeah, okay.
These ones actually do, eventually the skin fills back in, whereas if you have a human-made scar, or things of that nature, they don't fill back in. Let's see. So fear of deer or owls. Thank you, Joe. So Joe mentioned owls earlier, and yeah, owls is another one of those animals with big eyes that aliens do use with the masking process. So Sandra's asking, how about a circle of bite marks on the foot? So the first thing that pops into my mind with bite marks on the foot is Faye. What do you think? What do you think, Brent? Brent, are you still with us? Brent?
Sorry.
Did he fall asleep?
No.
I stepped away for a moment.
And we
Repeat the question.
We don't poke Faye, do we? Anyway.
Brent does.
Brent does, yeah.
Only one.
So, no, Sandra wants to know about how about a circle of bite marks on the foot? And that's not alien. I would say if you've got a bite mark on the foot, well, first of all, were you walking barefoot in the woods? You just have to ask the mundane questions first. So fang marks in a circle, the first thing that comes to my mind is Fae. Different races of Fae, otherwise known as fairies, but fairies are one type of Fae. Could cause fang marks in a circle.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Okay, so she said she didn't want to bring this up, but I'm going to throw her under the bus for a second. So Kayla just thought of something.
Okay.
And have you guys seen those bigger Beanie Baby stuffed animals that have the giant eyes?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the chance of those being a ploy to make kids not so scared of big-eyed animals?
I think it's possible.
To get them familiarized with it.
Well, I think it's the same concept as movies and media and books. All to integrate people into the possibility. So that when it happens, it doesn't scare them.
Because, like, for the size of those stuffed animals, they do have giant bug eyes.
Yeah, they do.
Right?
And when you get whacked with one, it really hurts.
Well, yeah, the Beanie Babies. Oh, good God, Trip. I want to go back to Sandra real quick. So, if the fang marks happen in bed, depending on how big they are, if it's a spider bite, I would definitely get it checked out because that could be either brown recluse or black widow. So. And Trip wants to know how old is Marvin the Martian. Marvin the Martian goes back to the 60s or earlier, I believe. And again, look at the time era. Back in the 30s and 40s, they were actually talking about aliens in comic books. Oh, there we go. And I'm getting mail pop-ups.
1948.
Marvel the Martian?
Yeah.
There you go, Trip. Marvel the Martian started in 1948. Okay, so we already talked about sleep paralysis, so I'm not going to beat that one up. What we haven't talked about is electrical appliance anomalies. Now, to discuss that, electrical appliance anomalies, or electrical anomalies in general, can be anything paranormal. And, again, this is another topic that we discussed on the Military Pagans show, or the Military Paranormal show, that, paranormal investigation is best done with old school equipment. If you have, a camera that still uses film, it's not digital. If you have used the old tape deck, cassette tapes, that's better for EVPs because it's not manipulated like digital is. So when it comes to paranormal, digital gets manipulated too easy. And even Markham was going to try out reel-to-reel with EVPs, which that would be unique and interesting for sure. So, yeah, for any new listeners, EVP is electrical voice phenomena. And you can either use a spirit box, spirit app, but again, it can be manipulated. And the way you test that, if you get a voice that comes through it and it gives you a name, the best way to vet that EVP is to look at the historical records. For example, we were at Northern State Dairy, and a name came through it. Now, I just come to find out that particular name matched historical records. That's how you vet your equipment, or you vet the validity of the EVP you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
So, with abductees, you will find these are people when you explain that when they're walking down the sidewalk and it's nighttime and streetlights go out as they walk past them. This is common with abduction. And what's doing it is the implant. The implant is manipulating the electronics. Then you've got cases where lights are going out by themselves. Again, you have to rule out, is it a spirit or is it abduction? Radios have been known to come on by themselves. Again, is it a spirit or another malevolent entity or something else going on? Or even a power surge.
Yeah.
That's why I keep on saying it, but it's important. One or two symptoms or signs, there's other explanations. But when you fit the pattern with, I would say 6 out of 10 signs.
Yeah.
Is what you look at. And then you have to match it with medical records, with psychiatric issues. But there's been plenty of cases where we've actually had valid, well-documented alien abduction cases. So, any other questions?
Yes. What is the? I got to figure out how to say it. What is the largest number of implants that you've heard in one person?
6.
6 in one person.
Yeah.
Wow.
And when you're dealing with multiple races that are abducting one person, you have to ask why. Why is this individual so important that you've got multiple races that are abducting them? What's the end goal? But that's what I've heard. That's what I'm looking at. So, so dreams of flying, that's another sign. But again, I'm going to argue with that one. And some of these are ones I've gotten off internet sites that I kind of laugh at. Because a dream of flying doesn't necessarily mean abduction. Dream of flying can be dream traveling or even astral traveling while you're sleeping. Okay, so Trippin says bloodline. What about bloodline? And it'll take him a second to answer. And so Nick is saying, so why would multiple species abduct one person? Maybe that person is a hybrid for one race, and another race is abducting them to study them. Just a thought. Or they made a past life contract with one race and another one or two races. There's a lot of theories you could throw out there, but it is rare. Oh, okay. And Trippin is saying their bloodline would be why so many implants. And that's possible too. So if you got one implant that's used for tracking, another for genetic manipulation, another for upload download, because you have some implants that are used for information. These are abductees that are receiving information from different races, things of that nature, and it's usually the hologram implant that's used for information upload and download, and it's a direct channel. So how do we help abductees?
Well, we want to listen to them and let them know that they aren't by themselves. There are others. That, we don't think they're crazy or anything like that. Showing empathy for what they've been through.
And it's like you said, we can work with them as extended care to get their energy back up, their shielding, and there's things you can do to try to block the aliens from coming back.
And that's where raising the vibration comes in. Raising the energy vibration is also a method to keep them from coming back.
Why does that keep them from coming back?
Say again?
Why does it keep them from coming back?
Because they can't. I don't think they can make the connection when your vibration is higher.
Oh, okay.
And let me go back up real quick. So Tripp says, how can we agree on a contract when our memory is wiped? So your memory wasn't wiped in that past life. And it might not be you that made the contract, but it might be your family line that made the contract. And they're honoring the contract by taking you. You've got no say in it. Now, through shamanic methods, there is a way to go back and renegotiate the contract or get them to take the contract back. That's above our pay grade. It's above our level. But it can be done through shamanic practice. And Trip is asking, but why wait so long? Why not when we had bows and arrows? So, who's to say they weren't taking us when we had bows and arrows? You know, Cowboys and Aliens. Love that movie. Cowboys and Aliens. Oh.
There are thousands of depictions across the United States in caves and different places of
Utah,
what we would call alien craft and alien people. And it's not like these guys were just bad at drawing. There's a distinct difference between what they drew as a human and what they drew as something else.
Oh, hands down. The cave paintings in Utah, for example, just one example, showed alien beings and UFOs. So you talk about, they were around back in, cowboy and Indian days. So, hey, definitely. And if you look at Native American lore, they talk about the Starman, star seeds, Starman. Those who come from the sea, come from the stars. So, again, we've got documented evidence of 12th and 13th century. So, aliens have been here for thousands of years. Aliens have been abducting for thousands of years. And probably since the beginning of human civilization. So, we are coming to the end of the show. It's been another great show. So, I'm just going to surprise y'all. Next week. You're going to be here, right, Cole?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I know there was one weekend you couldn't make it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's until July.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to do a call-in show. And next weekend, we'll give out Brent's number. And we'll have you call in Brent's phone. And put you on the air. So I know we have usually about 40 or 50 listeners that listen live. But a whole lot that listen because of the hour that we're on. So when you listen to the archive of the show this week, know that next week we'll be taking live callers for Father's Day. And I completely agree, Trip. This is one of those shows that went by way too fast. So Nikki's wanting to know, to your knowledge, has there been any reported abductions where the abductee remembers being in a ship that was underwater? No. That's one I've never heard.
I've heard it described as feeling like you were underwater where the ship felt almost buoyant.
Right, but that could also be just lack of gravity.
Yeah.
From being in space. It could go either way. But I've never heard of an abduction case where they actually describe being underwater. So, any last questions? Jamie, you're quiet.
I think I'll wait on that one. I forgot we weren't supposed to talk about that.
Okay. Are you talking about the Wendigo?
Oh, no. When we were talking about the implants and stuff and tracking devices and everything, well, they're the different places that they put the things that, so they, are hidden or whatever. Do you think it's possible that they're put in places that you wouldn't normally find them? So when the aliens are checking, they know that person isn't one that they want to take back up with them?
So there are we learned recently, towards the end of last year, first part of this year, I can't remember what the 3 phases are. But with one race, there are 3 phases. There's the childhood phase where they take children. And then they graduate to the young person phase, like in their 20s. Once they hit the older phase, which is usually probably be after the mid-30s to 40s, they don't have a use for you anymore, essentially. Doesn't mean you're not going to be abducted, because it depends on the race, depends on why they're abducting you. But, sorry folks, I'm reading the chat room. Stop, Trip.
Well, like when I was mentioning the thing about searching for intelligent life and stuff, say there's specimens down here that we don't even like them, and they want to make sure that they don't have to, take them up there with them again, and because some of the people they might not want, if you know what I mean.
I got you. I don't think they implant those people. I think they just know by energy. They can read a human's energy. And, I think Bigfoot's the same way. I think Bigfoot can tell intention. And I base that off, I've been told by some that they can tell if you have a weapon on you. I was deer hunting when I heard my Bigfoot knocks. They knew I had a weapon. If they thought I was a threat, they wouldn't have knocked. So they knew I wasn't hunting Bigfoot. I think hunting Bigfoot is stupid. But I think they can tell intention. I think they can tell intention by your energy. I think, some of our higher level beings, like some of the off-worlders and Bigfoot, I don't think, we'll go into this another show because we're coming to the end. But Bigfoot himself and herself are not extraterrestrial. I believe they're dimensional. I believe they're interdimensional. I believe some of them originated here. There is, however, the more aggressive cases of Bigfoot are not the Bigfoot that we see. What did Keith call them? Cole, do you remember? A waru?
No, I can never freaking pronounce the word that he used.
A wara. Something like that.
That sounds right.
And that is an extraterrestrial Bigfoot creature. And they are aggressive. And I think that's where you hear the Bigfoot aggressive cases. Not talking about Swamp Man. Swamp Man himself is a very aggressive race. But they're in like the Florida Everglades. They're in the South. So,
Swamp Man?
Yeah, Swamp Man is like a Bigfoot creature that you hear about in southern states. But like I always say,
like Louisiana. Okay, I hadn't heard that one yet.
Yeah, but to be honest, if I was a hairy creature living in a hot, humid state, I would be aggressive too. So anyway, been a great show, folks. Cole, where can we find Statement of Sound DJ Services?
You can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/SOSDJPro. You can also find us at 360-999-2830. And I have a new webpage coming up, but I don't know the address yet. So
we'll get it out to you. And last question, I have like 6 minutes before the studio cuts off. Have you heard David Paulides speak about Sasquatch Bigfoot? I know David Paulides, before he got into the missing people, was a Bigfoot researcher. I haven't followed him with the Bigfoot. I follow him more with the missing persons stuff. But he actually got started on Bigfoot, I think it was, before he got caught up with missing people cases. So, no, I haven't studied David Paulides' Bigfoot stuff. So, again, if you're having a paranormal issue, Forest Moon Paranormal is on Facebook. Just look for Forest Moon Paranormal and join the group. We have the page as well, but I really don't check the page too often as I should, because all of our activity, all of our announcements, all of our cases don't get discussed in the group, but that's where our clients find us.
And don't forget to get your Paracon tickets at fmparacon.com.
And your paranormal, your S4 and FMP gear is found at www.s-4radio.com. So on that note, thank you everyone for being on the panel tonight. Stay tuned next week as we might have a call-in show. Pass the word. And if you're local and you're listening, because you're not going to hear this until next month on KSVU, but we are having a community meeting
in August.
June 9th. If you're listening and you're local, make sure you pass the word. None of the resources we wanted there are going to be there. So we're going to have an emergency response meet and greet, meet your neighbors, and we'll talk about emergency action plans, things of that nature. So, again, thank you, good night, and have a great week.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight on S4, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. You can contact S4 through our website at www.s-4radio.com or on Facebook. Make sure you give us a like on our page and join the Forest Moon Paranormal group. If you are interested in advertising, take a look at our packages and contact Cole or Eric at 1-360-999-2830. Again, thank you. And remember, keep your eyes to the sky.